to test drive the scene and especially the country and maybe even the town first. And some of them are gonna be like, wait, stop the bus, take me with you, what about me? What are you leaving me here for? This video is for you if you're just so overwhelmed by this moment. What's happening is like, just run the palace, see what you can break. And if you don't break everything, I don't know, why don't you just burn it down while you're at it? And you're wondering, can I get a break? Is it possible to do it differently? Can I leave America either long-term or maybe you're just curious? I've made this video specifically to give you handy tools that I have used that helped me get out of America, to leave America because I had to, because it was the right moment for me and my family. I want you to do what's right for you, and maybe this video will help you out. I don't know, we need to get into it to get the answers. Stay with me, and at the very end, I'm going to give you a bonus tip that is specifically going to be Mexico specific, okay? So stick with me until the very end. I'm going to give you all of the nuggets that I got, how I did it. Ready? Let's do it.
You ready to speak like a boss? Let's get into your most powerful story. Because your story matters.
As early as yesterday, if you're really serious about moving out of the United States, or you can just call it a break out of the United States. If that language lands better with you or with your family, use it. What I want you to do though is bring them in really early before you've made all of the once you've made the decision that this is happening. So you definitely have to make that decision, but everything else, all the other decisions, you don't have to wait until you've got it all figured out. We shared with our family before we had figured out where we're going to stay, which city are we necessarily going to move to. All we knew is we know we have to make this move for our family, for us. And it's really important to bring these people along. So we brought them into the behind the scenes, if you will. And I really encourage you, the people who mean the most to you, who are probably going to have the most friction, it's not necessarily because they don't want to support you, it's because they love you and they're gonna miss you, right? And some of them are gonna be like, wait, stop the bus, take me with you, what about me? What are you leaving me here for? You want to bring those people into the journey as early as possible, and to make it really clear, like, this is something that is an adventure. This is something that's good for all of us because it's going to make me more of myself. I'm gonna be able to show up. For me, my whole thing was like, I can't show up as the kind of mother I know I'm capable of being if I'm under this level of stress. Like I just can't. Like, I'm not a faker, okay? And not only am I not a faker, I'm definitely not faking in front of my child. And I knew that I wanted to be in a place where I feel like I can thrive every single day. I explained that to my family and a lot of other important talking points. And that, bringing them on the journey early, game changer. Hack number 2, give it a test drive. Before you go on this huge adventure abroad and you move your entire life and you uproot everything, including your family, it is so smart. It's just like kind of a duh to test drive the scene and especially the country and maybe even the town first. And it's so easy now to be able to do this. For years, I had intentionally, with my husband, been spending the winters outside of the United States. At the time, no, we did not know that we were gathering information that was going to be helpful for us later on in making a really huge decision. But in hindsight, I can tell you now, oh my God, all those winters that we spent living abroad, living in Cape Town, living in the Caribbean, living in Mexico, all of that was exactly the information that we needed to understand where is the place that's going to be most supportive to the kind of lifestyle that we want to live? Where's the place that's going to be easiest for our family that's in the United States to be able to have a relationship with us? And also, where's the place that's not going to have that much friction for us in moving outside of the country? You need to do that research yourself. You also really need to figure out very, very personal things. For me, let me tell you something, like seasonal depression, the reason why I was leaving all of those winters, seasonal depression is so fucking real, and you don't really feel my pain unless you live in the global north and unless you live in like these places where humans, I don't believe humans were made to live in like, you know, once it gets below 65 Fahrenheit, I turn into somebody, I'm not here for that version of Magogodi, okay? And neither should the people who love me the most, because they want to see and experience me thriving like completely. And what I'm encouraging you to do, this is what we did. We figured out, knowing seasonal depression is real, sunshine is going to be a game changer for me, for my mental health, for my entire family. I knew really early on the places that make me thrive have to have the short checklist. They have to be walking places. That's another mental health hack. They have to be places where there's a lot of sunshine. It has to feel like I'm living in community. We've got to think about the cost of living. Is it supportive to what my family and I want as a lifestyle? And I'm encouraging you to do the same. Maybe you can't take an entire, I don't know, month out of the winter to go and live somewhere that feels like an ideal location for you, but can you take a weekend? Could you save and ask for your birthday for folks to chip in and make sure that you go away to the specific place and you rent an Airbnb in the town that you think would be supportive to you? Can you test drive it first? I understand this is a question of a lot of privilege, but I also, before you come at me with all of like, oh my God, only some of us, just reel it back a little bit and understand this. Whatever you put your intention on, whatever is the most important thing, whatever you put your entire focus and energy and life force on, that grows, and that becomes a way like that is possible, right? So before you focus on all of the reasons why this will not work for you, consider what are some of the ways that it is possible, just the possibility. This is something I'm living in real time, and oh my God, I have so many important belongings. Like my wardrobe, for example, is still in the United States. I'm trying to figure out a smart way to bring it over here to where I am. And I'm sharing this with you because I'm also practicing patience. You really have to give yourself some grace in how it's going to play out. It is going to be a little bit messy. You're not going to have all of the answers figured out. You're not going to have all of your financial questions answered. And that's something that I think is really important that I want to call out. I know a lot of you will look at this video and ask like, how? The thing that is most on your mind is how financially do you make this make sense? For me personally, I really have just never been the kind of person who allows financial constraints to be something that stops me from a huge, big dream in my life. So first, I make the thing happen and then the finances follow. I understand that's not for everybody, right? And I also want to point out, like, obviously there's financial risk. So you should be clear whether that's for you or not. And you should sit down with whoever you're bringing on this adventure, even if it's just you yourself, and think through clearly, like, okay, how are we even going to pay for the trip that is the research trip? How are we going to pay for the tickets that are going to get us over there? What are we going to do with our current space that we either are renting or, like in our case, that we own? For us, these are all things that are also unfolding in real time, right? And giving yourself the grace to not have it all figured out all in one go. I promise you, like, it's going to make it easier to be able to achieve your goal, right? To be able to live that dream. But it's also just, it's a huge thing that you're doing, and you're not going to have it all perfectly laid out according to your Excel sheet with every single cell filled out before you even board the plane to get to Mexico, if that's where you're going. Which leads me to number 4, and this is a fantastic website, resource, and actually a whole community called Exodus Summit. There's paid tiers, there's a lot of free information. I never joined the community itself because I figured some of the questions that people were asking inside of the paid community, I already had some experience with that because, you know, I've lived outside of the United States. I have some good experience living outside of the United States, but if you're the kind of person who has questions that, you know, might be 101 or maybe even more advanced questions because you've never lived outside of the country, outside of, say, study abroad. I'm talking about beyond study abroad. That resource, if you're specifically interested in Mexico and if you're a melanated woman, I mean, you find all kinds of things that are questions specific to just us. Like, what am I gonna do with this gorgeous 4C hair? Where am I gonna get my products, right? If that's something that you're interested in, let me know. I'm happy to do a video that's about 4C hair and what it's been like for me living here in Mexico and what the struggle bus. I'm joking, there's no struggle bus, but for real, what the struggle bus for 4C hair looks like and how I'm working around it. But those are some of the things that may be resources for you. Check it out. You know, I want to end this video by saying something that has been on my heart and something that is very painful to see. Nobody is rooting for America to go down in flames. I'm not. I'm just not that person. I'm so heartbroken by seeing what's happening, and it especially pains me because I understand the volatility and the hatred and the fucking white supremacy that Elon Musk is powered by. Oh, baby, like you just showing your ass. You just showing your ass like you have no idea. It gets me so hot under the collar, and for so many different reasons. The most important one being I come from a country that was ravished by white supremacy. Listen, if you know anything about history, and even if you don't know anything about history, do me a favor. My book is called Innards. This is not like a cheap plug, it's a real thing. My book is called Innards, and it really is a breakdown of what the psychology inside of a country that has been made by white supremacy, what that feels like, how we came to be this particular way. The very last chapter, the very last story inside of Innards is about this dude who is a verkramte, which means super right-wing, hard-line Afrikaner man. He is a farmer, and he's having like this come to Jesus moment because he don't know what to do because he's being asked to give up his territory, and there's no bone in his body that knows how to do anything except for be the last indigenous person of South Africa and to also hang on to the fatherland. Each of us over the next 4 years, we really have to come to our senses and come to our core of what is it that is going to allow me to thrive. The noise is only going to keep getting louder. The confusion is only I couldn't even make sense of the trail that these people are trying to put out for why they are canceling South Africa, because it doesn't make sense. You cannot make sense of it, okay? And instead of getting embroiled in those distractions that they want us to be embroiled in, which is not saying give up the fight, which is not saying turn away, don't look. I am saying you really owe it to yourself to be very clear inside of yourself. How am I going to be whole inside of this shitstorm? It's not just that my heart bleeds for people that I love in the States and a situation that I can see is toxic for everybody's mental health. It's also that we cannot afford to be anything but our best selves, our sharpest minds in this moment so that we can meet it with clarity. You're not going to do that if you are in tailspins all the time. If a break is the thing that's going to help you become more whole, take the break. Take the break. And this video, I hope that this video gives you some of the momentum that you need to be able to do that. Please reach out in comments with any specific questions, either about Mexico, I'm Oaxaca based, or maybe about South Africa, because I know a lot about South Africa as well, and I can help answer those questions. Any questions that you have about moving out of the country, taking a break out of the country, let me know in comments. I would love to be a supportive resource. In the meantime, take really deep, good care of yourself, especially my Black, brown folks in the United States. We are coming under levels of attack that are like Ugh. But you know what? Our ancestors went through worse. And look at us. Thriving, rising, gleaming, glowing. Okay? We know how to do this. You got this.